Welcome to Transformed, a program about ordinary people being transformed by the extraordinary power of God. In our first program with Peter Rame, we actually saw how God has raised up Choices of Life to be a ministry to children in schools and beyond. We've seen there how the motivation for the Choice of Life ministry is founded very, very firmly on the Word of God and the scriptures that we know from Psalm 139 in particular, where it talks about being fearfully and wonderfully made, which is the very basis of the program that we have for the primary school presentation. And I'd like to introduce two people who have been very much involved in the Choices of Life for a number of years now. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you Julie Jordan.
Hi Bruce.
Thank you for coming.
It's good to be here.
And you've been involved for a few years, about 4 years now.
Yes, 4 years I think.
Great. And Frances Hopkins.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me, Bruce.
Frances I've been in communication with for a number of years, since she was just a young girl at high school. And here she is now becoming more and more involved and with a desire to do far more with Choices of Life. Now, Julie, you've been involved in the schools program for about 4 years, as we've said.
That's right, Bruce.
What sort of things do you think you present, or what do you present in the schools when you go to grade 5 or 6?
I'm involved with the primary program, which is aimed at years 5 and 6, children who are about 11 and 12 years old. So they're about to hit the teen years, and it's important for them to have this message of life before they hit those amazing years. And so it's an interactive program for stage 3.
So there's lots of questions.
Questions and answers, yes. And it's a PowerPoint presentation which uses scientific facts to show the development of the baby from conception to birth. We use fetal models, life-size models, and
some like these ones here, which
some
we'll
like
have a look at a bit later.
Yes, yes, and also posters and lots of questions.
Lots of questions, and how do they react to that?
Oh, the reaction's very positive. I never have any behavioural problems. I never have to tell children to sit down and be quiet or anything, because the message itself is very gripping and they're totally fascinated, so it's great. And it also emphasises the fact that before birth is a time of preparation for life, that in the womb the baby's learning things.
And some of the students even say that in their responses at the end, don't
they?
They
They do say that, yes.
And we'll come to some of those in a little while, some of those responses that the children come
right.
back with, because they get a little form that they fill out.
A questionnaire, that's right.
So it's exciting. They get involved with it all, and it's very appropriate for an 11, 12-year-old, isn't it?
That's right. I've even had comments. I was a little bit worried about what this would be, but it was great, and they learnt a lot.
And very positive.
Yeah.
And that's it's framed like a journey as well, from conception to birth, and
that's
it's so engaging because everyone's done that journey.
That's right.
And to see where they've come from and stuff. They get so engaged because they've done it before, but though they can't remember.
That's right.
It's incredible.
And I know what we do is we actually select one of the students to be the model, as it were, for that program.
Yeah.
Not that we're ignoring all the other students in the class, but we're actually selecting one student to be the focus. And I've often said to them, when I use your name, Bill, for instance, you put your name instead.
That's right.
Because then that becomes something that's very personal for them.
That's it.
And it becomes a very, very wonderful experience that it's almost like they're reliving what they've had before they were born, even though they don't remember it.
Yeah.
And I don't remember it either.
That's right. And it also increases their appreciation of what their mother went through to actually, bring them into the world.
And again, sometimes the students say that, now I appreciate my mother
a
lot more.
Yeah, that's right.
Isn't that a good thing?
It is a good thing.
And so, Frances, you've got some of those models that Julie mentioned there. And you tell us a little bit about those models.
Definitely, these are really cool. So the first model is at 7 weeks after conception, and then this is the week just by growth, so you can see how much the baby's growing each week. So it goes from 7, 8, 9 to 10 weeks. At 10 weeks, the baby's fully developed. The main thing that happens after this point is the baby gets bigger. And the students love them, especially because they're squishy. They love squishing them, and they can feel and touch the babies as well. And this is real life size, so it's amazing for the kids to visually see how small they used to be.
Isn't it amazing though that at 10 weeks that little baby can do everything, in the sense that the heart's working, and it's been working for a number of weeks already. They can measure the brain waves, even the little one down the end there, the 7 week, they can measure brain waves then, and the kidneys are working and the liver's working and all those sorts of things. It's all happening. And it's just amazing. And as you said, the baby only gets bigger after that time, so that by the time they're born they're a much bigger size than that and much more able to survive outside the womb. But it's just an amazing thing when we look at those models and realise that was once us. And the kids often see that too.
Yeah, definitely.
In the classroom, and it's just a good thing, just a good thing. So it's good to have those models. Anything else you'd like to say regarding those models, Frances?
I think it's so engaging because we're told that we're nothing but a clump of cells, especially when we're in the womb. And you know what these scientific models say straight away is that it diffuses the entire argument, because you can see how intricately and amazing you're made with all the detail. Like, you've already got your fingerprints, and you know, it's not just a blob of organic matter, and you've got your organs working, as you were saying, and it's amazing how intricate we are and how small and tiny, yet we have all that development happening. It's incredible.
Well, thank you, Frances. Thanks for that, because that's, I guess you've seen many a times what happens when you open that little box of models, show it to the students, what happens to their eyes?
Oh,
you
yeah,
think they're going to pop out.
They do. They really light up.
And they think, oh, and sometimes the teachers light up too.
They do.
The teachers suddenly say, I've had 3 children, I've never seen anything like that before.
No, it's
and
really
it's just
amazing. It is.
an amazing thing in the classroom. The other thing that we use in the classroom too, Julie, is the ultrasound.
That's right. That really
It's
has
an
an
amazing
impact.
ultrasound.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what sort of response do you get? There's certain stages on the way through, they see different special things happening inside the womb.
That's
What
right.
sort of things really catches their attention?
Well, they can see the baby's profile. They can see the 2 parts of the brain. They can see the heart beating. That's really amazing, and you get lots of oohs and ahs when that happens. And you can see the baby yawning and smiling and even jumping around. So it's all really so astounding.
Makes it a bit real, doesn't it?
It makes it very real.
Very real. That's
Very
better. And so when it's very real, they can identify with that, and it's not just imaginary.
No, that's right. It could be their sister, their brother, themselves.
And at that stage, 11, 12-year-olds, sometimes they have their mum's pregnant with a little
That's
brother
right,
or
yeah.
sister.
They're always happy to tell you that their mum had a baby a couple
Or
of
their
weeks
auntie,
ago.
yeah.
Yes, that's
or
right.
someone.
Yeah, someone they know.
Yeah, yeah. And it's that stage, it's very exciting and
It's very exciting.
it's great stuff.
Yeah.
And so tell me, you've got a few comments there that some of the students have written. What sort of things do the students actually say after they've been in a class?
Oh, well, it's overwhelmingly a positive response. And they'll say things like, I've always appreciated my life, but seeing this makes me appreciate things more. Now I know how special I am. We all need to know this. And it was an eye-opener to a new side of life. This lesson is amazing and very fascinating, so thank you so much for teaching us about this. And as I mentioned before, my mother went through a lot to keep me alive, so that's really good. And there's a real appreciation of how unique each person is.
So that they're actually different to anyone else, because that's
That's
one
it.
thing that we emphasise, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right.
That they're unique, that their DNA, which is set in place at conception, is totally unique.
That's right.
There's no one else
No, down through
like
all of
them.
history, there'll never be just
There's
that
only
particular person.
ever going to be one Frances.
That's right.
Isn't that amazing? It is. You know? And when we think about that, and we think about the wonder of who God is, that He created us in an instant,
Yeah,
that all that information was there.
yeah, and that comes through to the children without even necessarily emphasising it.
Yeah.
They get that appreciation. This comment is, this program is very easy to listen to and is explained very well. You can learn heaps of amazing stuff to tell your friends. It's fun and educational, and there are amazing pictures and models. I loved it. I found this the most amazing experience on earth.
Well, there you go. And it's interesting, isn't it, that as we do that, I guess I'm picking up too a reminder that it's not just information that they're getting, it's something that's impacting their emotions and their heart, and it's not just a mind thing.
Exactly. No, it isn't.
It's far beyond that.
Yeah, it's far beyond that. But it's all based on facts, scientific facts.
That's right. And one of the things that I noticed at one school was a young lady who got very excited about the ultrasound and very excited about all those sorts of things, and just it was just almost too much for her to contain.
Oh, really?
And she was just getting so excited with it all. And I think when the comments were written, I'm pretty sure that she wrote this. And it's something that stuck in my mind for a long, long time. And I've got it here. It says, "Now I know I mean something to someone."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, wow, that's the sort of comment that says to me, here's someone who just needed that affirmation that she was worth something.
That's right.
And really, really important thing.
Yeah.
And we really need to grasp hold of these opportunities in the primary school,
Exactly.
because so many young students are finding that there's really nothing, well, maybe even at that point, nothing to live for.
Tragic, isn't it?
And so to come into a school, share this and say, hey, you're special. When I go up to Arnhem Land, it's great to sit down with some Aboriginal youngsters and say the same message.
Right.
They need to hear it too. And whoever we are, we need to be told, hey, you're worth something.
That's
you're
right.
unique.
Yeah.
You're on your way.
Yeah.
Especially for my generation and younger generations, because we're basically told like, oh, you're an accident, or blow a matter, but when you come in with a program and say that you're unique, there's never going to be someone else that's going to be just like you. It's and affirming our dignity and as a human,
Exactly.
It's not like just, oh, well, you just happen to be a blob of cells, and if that's what you were then, what are you now? It's just the dignity that it holds as a unique human person. It's incredible.
And one of the things we've talked about here is the comments from the students, and that's very, very important. If you go onto the website, the Choices of Life website, we've put a lot of those comments, which Julie has been reading and I've been reading, on the website.
That's right, so people can go and read them for themselves.
Yeah.
And they're constantly being updated.
Constantly adding more because we go to more schools.
That's
and
right.
the comments may be similar, but sometimes there's little variations,
That's right.
there's little gems in there that
that's
really
very
encourage you to keep going.
That's right.
And just be involved so much more, because why wait until they're 17 or 18?
And they've made a lot of accidents,
Yeah,
mistakes.
And choices that maybe they regret. Let's start before that and just put that value of life in there. And a lot of those stories can be shared as well.
That's right.
Now, I'm just going to encourage you to keep going in the schools, because what you're doing is a tremendously valuable contribution to the lives of these young students, and they need to know.
Well, thank you, Bruce, for enabling that.
Yeah. I'd like to take you now to a video clip that we did with Roseanne. Roseanne's very much keen to be involved in the primary schools, and she's also keen to be involved in contacting the schools, because we know that's a big task as well.
It is a big task.
And to just hear what she has to say. And after that video, we're going to meet Susan, who is going to share some of her vision for taking this message into the primary schools as well. Welcome, Roseanne, to Transform today.
Thank you.
We're looking forward to hearing what you have in your heart that's a passion as to why you're interested in going into schools and taking this message of life to primary school students.
Sure. Well, I think when you consider just some really basic statistics, when you think about that 25% of students by Year 10 are sexually active, and that raises to about 50% by Year 12. When you know that 1 in 3 women over the course of their life will have an abortion or be involved in abortion, and also that the most horrific one is that over 50% of teenage pregnancies end in abortion. When you also consider and know people and have read stories about women that later in their life reflect on their abortion and they have been damaged by abortion, you realise how important it is to get information to students before they are ever, or anybody, before they are ever faced with such a decision.
They're amazing facts, aren't they?
Oh, they're very sobering facts, and I mean, you think about our culture today and how even sexualised it is, and so really how important it is to get information as young as possible, really, about what's involved in pregnancy, so that basically people know before they have to face such a big decision, enormous life-changing decision, so that they will make a better choice.
So you see that providing this information, say, to 11, 12-year-old is preparing them to think more clearly when they move into their teenage years.
Oh, absolutely. When you can give them information about how a baby develops and all the different stages of development through pregnancy, and it's such a wonderful thing to watch the children when I've ever seen presentations done, they're just mesmerised to see how a baby develops, and it makes them feel special about themselves, and it makes them really see that this is a child, this is a life, this is not a blob, this is not a mass of tissues, but this is a life, and this is the decision to end a pregnancy is ending a life. And I think, yeah, I've got some things that students have said after the presentation, how it has impacted them. And
would you like to share some of those with
sure.
us this morning?
These are some from a Catholic school, from primary school students, and this is some of the comments. The presentation shows what makes us special. It's very interesting and it will help kids learn about life before birth. Now I know what's happening inside me when I have a baby.
So they're thinking ahead already
That's
to
right.
when they're going to be a mum. That's interesting, isn't it? That a
Absolutely.
young girl thinks that way, even when she's only 11 or 12.
Absolutely, and I think any information like that, it's just so crucial for them to understand what's happening inside a woman when she is pregnant, and so that if they ever did have to face an unplanned pregnancy, that they are better informed and they will make a better choice.
So they've got all the information under their belt before they even...
Absolutely. So,
Well, thank you, Roseanne, for that. Thank you for your time today and sharing that with us. And I'm sure that as you have the opportunity to go into a school to speak, or as you contact schools, your passion is going to come through, and we're going to see lives changed.
Thank you, Bruce. My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank God for people like Roseanne who have a real passion to go into schools, and we need more Roseannes, I'm sure, to do that same job. Now, as I mentioned, I have Susan here. Welcome, Susan.
Hello, thanks. It's good to be here.
Thank you for coming in and sharing with us today. And you've got something very special to show us here.
Yes, I do. We saw the smaller models earlier, but when we're going into the schools, we also take these ones. So this is the 10 weeks again, as Francis showed us earlier. But then we also have them for the next few weeks up. So moving along, this is 12 weeks, and then 14, all the way up to 16 weeks. And these ones are great for the children to see. You can see the details so clearly that if you look at this here, you can see eyes and nose and ears, fingers, toes. You can even see the toenails and count them on those. And it's so good for the children to see, to really see what this is, and just how human and how perfect these tiny babies are.
So this is the message that you're very passionate about taking to primary school classes as well.
Yes, I am.
So is there something that inspires you to do that?
Well, I've always had a passion for children and for teaching. And a few years ago, as I became involved with Choices for Life, I began to realise that the pro-choice message is fed to our children at such a young age, and it's pushed on them to the point where it becomes ingrained and automatic. It's what they unconditionally accept and defend because it's all they ever know. But then later in life, they can be faced with a situation where they could potentially have to make a permanent life-altering decision, and they have to make that choice based on what they've been told, based on what they know. But then after they've made that choice, they then have to live with the consequences. And if we can give them the truth now, if we can give them the other side of the story that no one else will tell them, then in the future we can save lives.
Wow. Well, thank you, Susan, for your passion and your enthusiasm, and it's great to know that you have that desire to take that message to the young people in our schools, and we're going to see a lot happen in the years to come, aren't we?
Yes,
Absolutely.
I hope so.
Now, I'd like to take you to a couple of video clips, one of Madeline, who also has a passion for taking this message into the schools. Madeline has just finished high school just very recently, and she's desiring to take this message into primary schools. And also I want to take you to a primary school principal. Helen has had the Choice of Life program in her school now for about 15 years. And for those 15 years, each year we present that material, and she's going to share a little bit about how the students have responded, how she sees it happening, and the impact it has amongst the student body, but also the impact it has amongst the teachers. So let's listen to what both of these people have to say to us today.
I see the huge value in human life, and I think with primary age, they're young and they're being fed a lot of information from a lot of different sources, and I think it's really important that they're fed, accurate information, facts, and that they're shown from a young age the importance of human life and how it needs to be valued, and so that as a younger age they are informed, so that they can make better decisions and educated decisions. For primary, it would be hard to understand the development of a fetus, and just realising that it is a human being right at the moment of conception. It's not knowledge that we just all have in the back of our heads, so educating them and showing that like that baby inside mommy's tummy, it's like you and me, and showing them that from a young age, and so that they can appreciate it and value it. They're young, they are being given a lot of information, and I think that they need to be given correct information so that they can make informed decisions and have a well-rounded knowledge of the issue of, particularly at primary age, you show them the value of human life. And so I think while they're young, it's important that they're given this information.
Oh look, the children absolutely love the program. They don't really know what they're going to on the morning that they turn up and meet you and meet the program. We do tell them it's going to be hands-on and it's going to be really exciting. The children are absolutely ecstatic about it. The conversations that happen afterwards are really purposeful. It follows on, it's part of our human sexuality program we have for our Year 6 students, and they've already done moving into the teen years, so it's a culmination of that. But it's just fantastic, and they just see how important they are as individuals, particularly when you do This Is Your Life with one of the students.
So this is what the students...
Oh yes, and they'll talk about it. They'll talk about it with their teachers, and some of the parents have commented later that it's been very significant for their children, that they now see how valuable they are as individuals.
And how do the staff actually respond? And I think you've commented before that when we first were talking about it, that there was hesitancy there.
Yes, people don't quite know what it is, and so I don't do a hard sell, I do a soft sell, and encourage them if they'd like to come and watch the program. The Year 6 teachers who've been coming to the program for some of them quite a few years, I think it's absolutely wonderful, and we'll express that not only to you, Bruce, and myself, but to the students. So, and one last year we had a new teacher who, on Year 6, who was also pregnant, and she was absolutely overwhelmed when she realised how significant it was for her.
She saw the model, she saw exactly where she was at
and felt
in
all
her
of
pregnancy.
That. Yes, and I've actually had other pregnant teachers, and I have a lot of pregnant teachers over the years at Chester Hill North who love to go and just have a chat to you and have a look at some of the models.
So thank you to Madeline and to Helen for sharing their thoughts with us today, and what they've experienced and what they would hope to see in the future. And thank you too to Susan and to Frances
It's great to be
for
here.
coming, and Julie, who has been with us in the program earlier on today. Please, will you pray with us? Will you pray that these young people who are hearing this message will be so impacted by the message of the wonder of life that it will make a big difference for what they do in the future, the relationships, how they respect one another, all those sorts of things. Because as they realise they are fearfully and wonderfully made, not just themselves, but also those that they mix with, those that they are friends with, those who maybe are not their friends, but each one of them is fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God. What an amazing message to take. If you are interested in helping to take this message even further into more and more schools, please contact Choices of Life. Speak to us as soon as possible so that together we might impact more young people with this wonderful, wonderful story that we are fearfully and wonderfully made in the image of God.